Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Chatha. I'm a third-year doctoral student working with Dr. Stacey Bretz in the Chemistry and Biochemistry department, where we specialize in chemistry education research. This presentation, as seen by the title, will be focusing on the modified methods I employed to continue my dissertation research in these new remote learning and social distancing times. Like the rest of the world, this institution had to deal with the oncoming of COVID-19 in early 2020. The initial response for teaching and learning was a dramatic pivot to distance learning. For research, especially those conducting human subjects research like myself, the decision was made to stop research altogether unless deemed essential or until modified to fit current social distancing guidelines. My research investigates student understanding of chemistry concepts and representations. I collect my data through student interviews, so I had to modify and submit a new plan now incorporating social distance practices to continue my dissertation research. My face-to-face interview included general questioning for student ideas, but also asked students to perform manipulative tasks, such as asking them to draw out images, interact with pre-printed images on cards, and place symbols onto those pre-printed cards. Interviews and manipulative tasks are a common data collection method in chemistry education research, but they're performed under the condition that the interviewer and participant are in the same room together. There are a few studies published in the chemistry education research literature that employ remote data collection methods, one of which is a study done by Pratt and Yozerski, in which they were successfully able to collect interview data remotely from participants across the USA, collecting Q&A-like interview data and asking participants to verbally critique statements being shown to them during the interview. Studies like this validate remote data collection, but there are no examples of remote studies that use manipulative tasks. So I had to create and test my own to fit my research needs, using the video conferencing platforms available to my student sample. My questions didn't change, but I had to find virtual equivalents for the three previously mentioned manipulative tasks. After some testing and tuning, I found a method using WebEx that fit my needs. I first created a PowerPoint document, treating each slide like a section of my interview. This document was shared with the participant that I would use the first slides to teach and test the specific WebEx features. In particular, the annotation feature and mouse control feature that would be used to mimic the manipulative tasks from the face-to-face interview. Due to time, I've selected specific examples of the remote modifications. But if you're interested in reading more specifics about this process, they can be found in a communication written for the Journal of Chemical Education. It was recently accepted and should be available as an ASAP article by mid-October. Once a student was brought up to speed on the WebEx features being used and consent paperwork digitally signed, they encountered the first modified manipulative task by using the annotation feature, which had a pen tool, to allow them to draw out, now using their mouse, any accompanying images to their verbal remarks. Another modified task they encountered involved them using the mouse control feature, where they took control of a shared mouse, which allowed them to interact with the features on the shared PowerPoint slide. Here's an example where students moved the symbols found on the right of the PowerPoint slide and placed them on images in the middle to describe their understanding of the chemistry concept being investigated. Overall, the modifications used in moving to the remote setting worked extremely well, and I have been using these methods to collect data since the end of the spring semester. That is not to say there aren't limits to these techniques. There are expectations for participants to have proper materials to run the video conferencing software. With moving to a virtual space, you're now at the mercy of many technical issues that are sometimes beyond your control, such as low bandwidth, creating poor connection, or microphones just not working, to name a few. I've also experienced a huge decrease in response rate for interviews, especially during this fall semester with undergraduate students starting remotely. Altogether, the remote methods I adapted worked better than expected, and I encountered examples of student thinking that I had not seen during my face-to-face interviews, since the remote space now allowed for a new configuration of images, such as resizing or easily overlapping images with a transparent background. In the future, since we'll most likely be continuing remote interviews into the spring, I'm working on different recruitment strategies to try and get more participants in my study. I want to end this presentation by thanking the NSF grant that allows me to do this work, the current and past Bretz members that helped me during this time, also the students that participated in this study. Lastly, thank you for your time in viewing my presentation. Please feel free to contact me at chathac@miamioh.edu with any questions you may have, and I hope you have a great day wherever you are.